Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Now, born on this date in 1934, University of Alabama legend and NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Bart Starr of Montgomery. You know, I might restart the Alabama News Quiz this week if we have any new listeners with decent internet access who'd like to come on the show and take it. If that describes you, shoot me an email at imorgan@al.com with quiz in the subject line. We record them on Thursday afternoons, so let me know if you're good for today even. If we get responses, we'll try to get somebody picked before 1 p.m. today, email you back, try to record around 3 or 4. Now, if we get good response, we may have to schedule folks out for a few weeks. We've had to do that before. Again, that email is imorgan@al.com. Now, today on the show, and I promised we'd have more on this, so don't say we don't deliver, we have AL.com reporter Rebecca Griesbach to give us what we need to know about the CHOOSE Act and possible changes to school funding. Now, if you're a student, a parent, an educator, or a taxpayer, you definitely don't want to miss that. We also have a few notes about the cold weather, Terry Sewell's new responsibility, and the identification of another Alabama sailor who died at Pearl Harbor. My name's Ike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. Well, it's not exactly exclusive breaking news when I say that it's cold out in Alabama, but I wanted to mention a few things about the next couple days. First of all, overnight tonight and into tomorrow, we could see icy or snowy precipitation, but that was the advanced forecast as of this recording. Keep up with your favorite weather source and check al.com/weather for updates. Many school systems across North and Central Alabama have already canceled Friday classes just to be safe. In coastal Alabama, Mobile has postponed the annual lighting of the Mardi Gras tree from tonight to next Thursday. The cold weather isn't just about travel concerns. In Jefferson County, officials issued a warning that over the past couple of days, there have been 3 people who are suspected to have died of hypothermia. It's important to note that their causes of death aren't yet official, however. And the Alabama National Guard has been activated to help local first responders and the Alabama Emergency Agency. Mobility support teams are staged in North and Central Alabama. Well, it's not the cold weather that's keeping the mail from running today. AL.com's Lita Gore reports that the U.S. Postal Service is closed today because of the National Day of Mourning for President Jimmy Carter, who passed away December 29th at 100 years old. Postal service is expected to resume Friday, tomorrow. Now, if you're in an area that gets freezing rain, however, you might not want to wait by the mailbox. It could be a bit of a wait. Congresswoman Terry Sewell has landed a leadership role on the House Ways and Means Committee as the ranking Democrat on the Oversight Subcommittee, reports AL.com's Howard Koplowitz. Now, that's a big gig. Ways and Means is where tax legislation is written, and it's the oldest congressional committee. Sewell is also the first Black woman to serve in leadership on Ways and Means. Another service member from Alabama killed during Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor was scheduled to be buried with full military honors, reports AL.com's Coyote Crown. U.S. Navy Chief Carpenter's mate Ted Furr went down with the USS Oklahoma on December 7th, 1941. His remains were identified as part of the Project Oklahoma effort to recover DNA and identify the sailors. The Navy is then covering burial expenses. Furr was to be buried at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu. Furr was born in Selma and grew up in Chickasaw in Mobile County. He was 39 years old. Now, he has family in Pasadena, California, and we certainly hope they're doing okay with at least 2 of the LA County fires in that town's vicinity. Well, schools and students are now applying to get involved in Alabama's latest school choice effort, the CHOOSE Act. AL.com's Rebecca Griesbach has been covering that topic, so we're going to talk to her about the response she's seen so far right after the break. Y'all stay with us.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey, thanks for hanging in there, everybody. You've probably at least heard of the CHOOSE Act by now, if not on this show, somewhere. And maybe you've even heard of the ESAs that accompany them. But now it's open season for families of students to apply for the funds to move to a school of their choice. AL.com's Rebecca Griesbach is on the show today to talk about where they are in that process and what kind of response they've had from schools wanting to participate. Welcome to the virtual studio, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me, are you warm enough where you are? Are you in an area where you might get a little snow?
Well, possibly. Yeah, I'm up in Birmingham, and luckily I'm in the office right now, so I'm not freezing my butt off in my apartment. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I hope there's some snow on Friday at least. There was a little bit the other day, and that was cool.
So you're pro snow then, at least to a point.
I am, unless I have to drive in it.
Well, quick story. I worked out of the Birmingham hub for AL.com. Was it 2014? I can't remember. When the Snowmageddon. I think it was 2014.
Uh-huh.
I spent the night at the Birmingham newsroom. So yeah, just let's not get caught in that kind of situation.
Yeah. I was in high school then, and I remember getting caught in traffic on the way back home, and it took like 2 hours. This was in Tuscaloosa. It was not fun.
Oh yeah, 2 hours in traffic is a nightmare in Alabama. Our New Jersey audience might be saying, "What's the big deal?" Sometimes you got to grin and bear it. And what's the big deal with a little snow anyway, guys? But it's a big deal for us.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, we got snow, and I lived on the Gulf Coast. That was momentous, but it didn't stick very well. It was kind of a loose, slushy snow. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the CHOOSE Act. Since I have you here, let's talk about the CHOOSE Act.
Sure.
Can you start out by summarizing what's supposed to happen under the piece of legislation? I'm calling it legislation, under the new law, and sort of how the funding switcheroo works?
So, so the legislature put forward about $100 million toward this program last year, and it just went into effect, opened up for families. Applications opened up for families on January 2nd, so last week. So right now we're kind of just in this phase of seeing who's going to apply, seeing what schools are going to sign up, but it essentially allows. Now, there are a bunch of different kind of eligibility requirements. So currently, it's open to kind of specific groups of students. So if you have a student with special needs, that's kind of first priority. And then after that, military families, and then they'll kind of consider your household income. So currently, I think for a family of four, if your household makes under, I think it's about $93,000, you would be eligible. But they're kind of taking those priority groups first. So those are currently the students that would be eligible for this.
Yeah.
And they can get education savings accounts, which are kind of like vouchers. I'm not going to, I don't know if
Loaded
I'm
word, yeah.
qualified to delve too much into the difference of that, but they're basically these accounts that are they're up to $7,000 in state funds that you
Mm-hmm.
can use for private school tuition or other education expenses like tutoring or textbook companies. You could even use it if the public school is a participating school for some of the services maybe that a public school might offer that aren't offered by a private school or other kind of school program. So I mean, a wide range of things that you can use them for. And eventually they're going to open it up to everyone. So I know that's kind of a mouthful, but I mean, this is going to be huge for us. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's $100 million.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And they came to that $7,000 because they determined that's about what is spent per student in the public school
yeah,
system, right?
yeah, right. It's about, I think, about $7,500, but yeah, it's close.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, you've also reported on some changes to some of the funding levels are being, considered and batted about. That's connected to this, right? Because the public schools are going to be losing some funding, and they're going to have to sort of reimagine, at least for some schools. Am I talking out of line? Does that make sense?
No, and I mean that's already come out of the budget, and this is the first time in quite a while that we're having these that our education budget is. I'll just say we had an influx of money with COVID, and now that money is gone, and
Right.
so this is the first time that we're really talking about cutting things and making decisions about like what kind of services we're going to be able to offer. So it's kind of coming at this time where you know um, we're having to make a lot of decisions about, and also there's all the discussion about PHIP and teacher retirement.
Hmm.
So just a lot of things in the mix that are going to affect funding and have already affected funding in some ways.
Yeah,
So
it seems like it's really magnified because our economy, well, in the United States and particularly in Alabama, we had virtually zero unemployment for a while. We had a windfall before COVID, and then with COVID, just all the spigots were open and all this spending happened, and for it to happen, sort of dry up, or I won't use the word dry up, coming back to
I
reality
think
on both of those things at one time. I'm sorry, what now?
I said I think dry up is appropriate,
Good
but
enough then. It seems like it might be a tough time if you're a public school budgeter and you're losing these students.
sure, sure. And I mean, we know a lot of schools used COVID money to spend that on staff, and
Hmm.
that's kind of hard to deal with if you don't want to fire folks. And we're already hearing about school districts having to let a bunch of people go.
Well, a number of private schools have already, I say a number, it seems like a lot to me, have already been approved as destination schools for the students. Now, I take it there's no surprises there. That's not more or less than we expected. That's just part of the process.
Right. That number right now is 165, which we don't have a great count of all the private schools in the state because they're private.
Right,
But
right.
I would say that that's probably about half of the private schools that we've been able to count at least.
Hmm.
And those applications are rolling. So, more schools could definitely apply in the coming months. So that's definitely not a set list yet. Um, Also, there's a couple of kind of non-traditional public schools that I've applied to that I thought was kind of interesting. The Math and Science School down in Mobile,
Okay.
which, and these aren't, obviously they don't charge tuition, but with that school, they do charge room and board. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly what an ESA might be used for in that instance, and I haven't gotten a great answer yet. But that's something we're trying to figure out. University Charter School down in Livingston, and then also a public virtual school up in Athens. They've applied to.
Okay. Okay. When might we have an idea about how many? I know parents are applying now. When might we have an idea of just how popular this is, or how many students are trying to opt in?
Well, I mean, just in this past week, we've had about 5,000 applications for about 9,000 students. And the program currently, as it's funded, could only support about 14,000. So we've already got a big chunk of students, and not all of those students are probably going to be approved. But those are folks who have already submitted applications. So if that's any indication, I mean, I think this is going to be huge. I think a
Hmm.
lot of people are going to try to take advantage of it. I think the deadline is April 7th
Okay.
for families to apply. So that's when we're going to have a number for sure.
Okay.
But it's already really popular.
Okay. Okay. And if I'm a parent and I'm listening to this and I'm looking for more information, I'll link in show notes to some of the work you've done, but also to apply. I guess we have a link we could share there as well. Or is there anything you can tell
Yeah.
folks?
Yeah, there's the Choose Act has its own website, and within that website, there are a lot of different resources for parents. There's some pretty handy guides that kind of walk you through everything, what the application looks like. And I think they're still doing some webinars that you can sign up for, but everything will be on the Choose Act website.
Okay. Okay. Am I leaving anything out that folks need to know about this? And anything, any other shoes dropped on it, or shoot, anything going on in the school system you want to tell us about that you're working on?
I'm just kind of curious for folks who plan to use that money to attend a public school, maybe an out of district public school. I'd love to hear from folks about, what kind of communication you're getting about that. There's still some questions about the process and exactly who is eligible and for what that I'm trying to nail down.
Uh-huh.
So definitely stay tuned. I hope to get more articles out as I get answers to that kind of stuff. But
Okay.
I welcome folks to reach out to me with their questions because that's helpful for
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah. You want to give them your email?
sure. It's R Griesbach, Griesbach at AL.com.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to reach me.
Well, Rebecca, stay warm wherever you wind up, wherever you get stuck. No, we're not going to get stuck. Thanks for taking the time to share all this. And we're going to follow along and keep up as best we can. You're working hard on this. You're putting out a lot of stuff. So on this and everything scholastic across the state of Alabama. So we
Thank you so
appreciate the
much.
work. Yeah, we appreciate the work. And thanks everybody out there for listening to us. We're going to be back here again tomorrow. We might be on a generator, but until then, y'all come by and see us on the internet anytime you want to at al.com.